What if Toji fully revived after killing Granny? The moment Toji Fushiguro crushed Ogami's Granny's skull, the connection between them should have severed. His soul should have faded, leaving behind nothing. But something went wrong. A spark, something primal and violent, clawed its way back into him. His body did not crumble. His mind did not fade. Instead, the weight of consciousness settled into his limbs like an old coat, the way one gets back on a bike after a long time. His breath came ragged at first, then evened out. The warmth of blood pumping through his veins felt foreign yet familiar. Fingers flexed, a heartbeat, a pulse. He was alive. Toji Fushiguro had returned. In this timeline, there's a slight shift that alters the chaos a little bit more. Granny begins the revival process a little earlier than she would in the original timeline. Here, it coincides with the moment that Gojo was about to step into Kenjaku's trap, an event that happens much later after Gojo is sealed. Toji opens his eyes. He finds Shibuya in flames, smoke clogging the air. The distant screams of sorcerers and curses alike painted the night in chaos. All around, Shibuya burned, a battlefield of monsters, ideals, and fate colliding. He barely registered any of it. He had no reason to. The war between Jujutsu sorcerers and cursed spirits meant nothing to him. He had no allegiance, no stake in their conflicts. The only thing that mattered was the disorienting reality of his own existence. Memories came in scattered fragments. His last moments, Megumi, the contract with Naobito Zen'in, his final battle with Gojo, then darkness, a void, and now this. He exhaled. The sensation of his lungs expanding felt real. His heartbeat, steady and firm. It was impossible, yet undeniable. He turned his gaze downward. The corpse of the old woman lay at his feet, her eyes frozen in shock, her technique failing her in the end. Her grandson's body lay nearby, lifeless and discarded. He barely remembered killing them. His body had moved on its own, an instinct buried in his very core overriding all reason. He crouched and wiped the blood from his hands. No trace of hesitation, no flicker of regret. He was back, and he needed to know why. Now, we all know that the world of Jujutsu Kaisen is one where chaos reigns supreme, especially when the balance of power shifts, and it has. Toji's return in this scenario is about to change everything. Now, stay with me and imagine this. The battlefield is a twisted nightmare. The ruins of Shibuya crumbling under the weight of curses and sorcerers locked in a deadly dance. Amid the chaos, one man walks untouched, his presence a ghostly anomaly. Toji Fushiguro, the man who defied death itself, moves through the destruction like a shadow. None of it matters to him. Not the curses, not the sorcerers, not the echoes of destruction ringing through the night. And then, at the heart of it all, he sees him, Megumi. The boy stands amidst the wreckage, his uniform stained with blood, his breathing heavy but steady. The 10 shadows technique flickers around him like spectral guardians, their forms shifting and writhing in the dim light. He's strong, stronger than Toji expected, stronger than anyone had anticipated. Toji lingers in the shadows, his sharp eyes tracking every movement. Megumi fights with a precision that speaks of experience, of battles fought and survived. He isn't reckless. Every strike, every dodge is calculated. A strategist in a world that often rewards brute force over intellect. For a moment, something unfamiliar stirs in Toji's chest. Pride. Megumi is nothing like him, and yet, in some strange way, he's everything Toji had never been. A son who had grown into his own strength, who had carved his path without the weight of a cursed legacy. Toji watches him, a ghost from a past that had long since burned to ash. But Megumi doesn't know. He doesn't know the man who watches him from the shadows. He doesn't know the father who had abandoned him, who had left him to the mercy of a world that had no mercy to spare. And for now, Toji chooses to keep it that way. His fingers twitch, itching to test the boy, to push him to his limits and beyond. But this isn't the time. This isn't his place. Not yet. Instead, he turns. For the first time in his life, Toji Fushiguro walks away from a fight. He needs time to understand, to decide, to figure out where he belongs in the world that has moved on without him. It doesn't take long for the whispers to spread. A man with no cursed energy, moving through Shibuya untouched. A sorcerer killer from a bygone era, standing atop a mountain of corpses. An anomaly, a ghost. Some dismiss it as a battlefield hysteria, the desperate imaginings of those pushed to the brink, but others know better. They've heard the stories, the legend of the man man who once brought the Jujutsu world to its knees. Somewhere else in Shibuya, Gojo walks towards Geto. He sees his friend, but something tells him that Geto is no more. After all, he made sure Geto wouldn't be a problem anymore, for the good of the Jujutsu world. So why was his best friend standing in front of him? Before he can take a step forward, he senses it. This familiar feeling of nothing, a sharp edge of bloodlust that can only belong to one man, a man that should not be alive. But it was a day for him to be surprised, it seems. The bloodlust had drawn his attention for a bit. Not now that he looks back. Geto is gone. His first instinct is to chase after whatever that was in Geto's body, but then he hears it. A name that should not have been spoken, a name that had died years ago. Toji Fushiguro. The moment it reaches him, Gojo stops. The world blurs around him, his mind racing through the impossible. Toji? Alive? It can't be. And yet, a slow, sharp grin spreads across Gojo's lips. If it's true, if Toji really is alive, then there's only one thing left to do: settle unfinished business. Gojo turns, his blue eyes flashing with a dangerous light. This war has just gotten interesting. In this timeline, Toji's bloodlust stops Gojo from falling into the trap, and Kenjaku flees, setting up for a perfect rematch as these two are inevitably going to clash. The streets of Shibuya are still soaked in blood, the echoes of war vibrating through the ruined city. Battles rage in the distance, sorcerers against curses, ideologies clashing like steel on steel, but none of it matters. Not to the two men standing across from each other now. On one side, Toji Fushiguro, the legendary Sorcerer Killer, a man who defied fate itself and clawed his way back from the grave. On the other, Gojo Satoru, the strongest sorcerer alive, the invincible wielder of Limitless and Six Eyes, the man Toji had killed once before. The space between them is suffocating. Neither moves, neither speaks. A frozen moment in time. Then, Gojo grins, even as the man stands before his eyes. Someone he hasn't seen in years. Someone he made sure to end for good. He still can't believe his eyes. The voice is light, almost amused, but the tension in the air cracks like glass. Gojo has seen impossible things before. He's done impossible things before. But this is different. Toji stands before him, flesh and blood, alive. It isn't a trick. It isn't an illusion. Gojo has spent years carrying the weight of his only true defeat. The one time in his life when someone had put him down, not with overwhelming power, but with something far more terrifying: instinct. And now, that very man is standing in front of him again. Toji simply exhales, rolling his shoulders. He's seen that look in Gojo's eyes before, a mixture of excitement and something deeper, something darker, the thrill of a battle he's never gotten to finish. He walks towards a bloodied corpse, picking up a knife similar in shape to what he used to use. Toji knows he wants to fight, and genuinely, he wants to fight him too, but this time for his own curiosity. Gojo's sunglasses reflect the neon glow of the ruined city. The answer is obvious: yes. Gojo moves first. The ground shatters beneath his feet as he closes the distance in the blink, his fist closed in raw, cursed energy. But Toji? Toji is already gone. His body moves before thought, before logic, pure instinct. He ducks, pivots, and in the same motion, strikes. A knife flashes through the air, aimed for Gojo's throat. It stops, an inch away, a familiar sensation: infinity. Toji's knife hovers in place, unable to pass through the thin, invisible layer of absolute defense surrounding Gojo. But Toji doesn't hesitate. He lets go of the knife mid-swing, launching himself forward with explosive force. His other hand shoots out, grabbing the very space where infinity should have stopped him, and then he rips through it. Gojo's eyes widen, Toji's fingers around his collar, and before Gojo can react, the Sorcerer Killer slams Gojo into the concrete. They clash again and again, their movements a blur of speed and precision. Toji pushes his body past its limits, relying on sheer physicality and instinct. Gojo adapts, his technique shifting fluidly. Infinity, blue, raw hand-to-hand combat, but neither can land a decisive blow. Toji can't break infinity fast enough. Gojo can't hit Toji cleanly. Minutes stretch into eternity. Then finally, they stop. Both men stand apart, their breathing even, their expressions unreadable. Gojo exhales as he notices that Toji is not trying to kill him. Toji just stares at him blankly. A moment passes. Then, to Gojo's surprise, Toji turns his back and walks away. Gojo doesn't move. He simply watches. He lets Toji go, and the battle ends with no victor. Toji wasn't an assassin anymore. He has no contract, no orders. He isn't here to kill Gojo, not this time. He has only one goal now, Megumi, and whether Gojo knows it or not, their fight has settled something inside of him. Toji disappears into the ruins of Shibuya, leaving Gojo behind, and the world of Jujutsu Kaisen shifts forever. Anime lover boy here, mid-editing. I just wanted to pause the video and ask you to subscribe if you like this kind of video. And while you're down there, why not leave a like as well? Spoiler warning for what happens next. Toji's return will cause more ripple effects. His presence alone is enough to send shockwaves through the Jujutsu world. But for the Zen'in clan, his return isn't just a threat, it's a reckoning. The clan that once cast him out, that saw him as a failure, now faces the very real possibility of being dismantled by the man they underestimated. The Zen'in clan has always been a fortress of tradition, a family built on the rigid hierarchy of cursed techniques and bloodlines. But beneath the surface, there's always been a tension, resentment simmering between the main family and the branch families, between those with cursed techniques and those without. Toji Fushiguro, a man born without cursed energy, was the embodiment of everything the clan despised, and yet he was the only one who had proven them wrong, who had shown that raw instinct and physical prowess could rival even the most refined cursed techniques. Now, with Toji's return, the Zen'in clan is thrown into chaos. The leadership, once so confident in their control, is now scrambling to contain the threat. Toji's very existence is a challenge to their authority, a reminder of their failures, and as whispers of his return spread, the clan's internal weaknesses are laid bare. The main family, led by Naobito Zen'in, is desperate to maintain control, but Toji's presence has emboldened the branch families, who see an opportunity to challenge the status quo. The power vacuum left by Toji's dismantling of the leadership leads to infighting, with factions vying for control. The clan, once united by tradition, is now fractured by ambition and fear, and at the center of it all is Megumi. Megumi, who has always been an outsider within the clan, now finds himself thrust into the spotlight. The Zen'in clan sees him as a potential heir, a way to reclaim some semblance of control. But Megumi has never been interested in the clan's politics. He's always been more concerned with protecting those he cares about than with upholding tradition. Now, faced with the chaos within the clan, Megumi is forced to confront his role. It would force him to step up as a reformer, using his position to challenge the clan's oppressive hierarchy. Or does he reject the clan entirely, forging his own path outside of their influence? Another wild card would be an unlikely alliance between Maki Zen'in, which has always been a wild card within the clan. Like Toji, born without cursed energy, she's faced discrimination and dismissal at every turn, but Maki has never been one to back down. She's fought tooth and nail to prove herself, to show that she's more than just a failure in the eyes of the clan. Now, with Toji's return, Maki sees an opportunity. Toji, the man who defied the clan's expectations, is a symbol of everything Maki has been fighting for. And while she may not trust him, after all, Toji is far from a hero. She recognizes that their goals align. Both of them want to see the Zen'in clan's oppressive hierarchy dismantled. Both of them want to tear down the system that has cast them aside. This leads to an unlikely alliance between Maki and Toji. It's a tense partnership, fraught with mistrust and conflicting motivations. But together, they pose a formidable threat to the clan's leadership. For Maki, this is a chance to finally take a stand against the clan that has wronged her. For Toji, it's an opportunity to settle old scores and prove once and for all that he's more than just a failure. But this alliance also creates an interesting dynamic between Maki and Megumi. Megumi, who has always been more reserved, now finds himself caught between his father and his cousin. Maki, who has always been more outspoken, pushes Megumi to take a stand, to reject the clan's influence and forge his own path. Toji's return doesn't just shake the Zen'in clan, it also has a profound impact on Megumi. For the first time, Megumi is forced to confront the legacy of his father, a man he's only ever known through stories and rumors. At first, Megumi is wary of Toji. He knows the man's reputation, knows the destruction he's capable of. But as he spends more time with Toji, he begins to see a different side of him. Toji, for all his flaws, is a man of instinct and action. He doesn't rely on cursed techniques or elaborate strategies. He trusts his instincts and his physical prowess. This has a profound impact on Megumi's development from the moment he meets him. Up until now, Megumi has relied heavily on his 10 Shadows technique, using it as his primary tool in battle. But under Toji's influence, he begins to develop a hybrid fighting style, combining the precision of his technique with the raw physicality of his father's approach. This hybrid style makes Megumi a formidable opponent. He's no longer reliant on his technique alone. He's able to adapt to any situation, using his instincts and his physical strength to complement his cursed energy. This newfound versatility allows Megumi to take on stronger opponents, pushing him to new heights as a sorcerer. But Megumi's growth isn't just physical, it's also emotional. Toji's presence forces Megumi to confront his own identity, to grapple with the legacy of his father. Megumi has always been more reserved, more cautious than Toji, but as he spends more time with his father, he begins to understand the value of instinct, of trusting oneself in the heat of battle. He still goes goes to Jujutsu High, training with Gojo Sensei and his friends with Yuji and Nobara. While he will have other commitments with the addition of Toji, his school life still remains the same. His training with Toji doesn't mean that he becomes like his father. Megumi's strength lies in his ability to balance instinct with strategy, to combine the best of both worlds, but Toji's influence pushes him to become more independent, to rely on his own judgment rather than always seeking guidance from others. The relationship between Toji and Megumi is not one marked by emotions. Toji, for all his strength, is not a man who expresses his emotions easily. He's not the type to offer words of encouragement or fatherly advice, and yet his actions speak volumes. Toji's subtle training of Megumi reveals a deeper sense of responsibility, even regret. He may not say it outright, but it's clear that he sees something of himself in Megumi, a strength and determination that he respects. And while he may not be the most nurturing father, he does what he can to guide Megumi, to push him to become stronger. For Megumi, this is a difficult dynamic to navigate. He spent his entire life without a father, and now that Toji is back, he's not sure how to feel. On one hand, he's grateful for the guidance, for the chance to learn from someone as skilled as Toji. On the other hand, he's wary of Toji's motives, of the man's checkered past. This tension between them creates a compelling dynamic. Megumi is constantly grappling with his feelings, trying to reconcile the man Toji is now with the man he was in the past. And Toji, for all his stoicism, is clearly struggling with his own emotions, with the weight of his past actions. Toji's presence is sure to stir up all kinds of trouble, and by the time the dust settles, the Zen'in clan is forever changed. Toji's return has exposed the cracks within the clan, forcing them to confront their own weaknesses. The power vacuum left by Toji's dismantling of the leadership has led to a new era for the clan, one defined by reform and change. Megumi, having been thrust into the spotlight, emerges as a key figure in this new era. Whether he chooses to reject the clan entirely or step up as a reformer, his actions will shape the future of the Zen'in clan. Maki, having allied with Toji to dismantle the clan's hierarchy, emerges as a powerful force in her own right. Her actions inspire others within the clan to challenge the status quo, to fight for a more equitable future. The presence of Toji would most likely disrupt Sukuna and Kenjaku's plans. But let's start with Kenjaku. How would Toji's presence affect him? Kenjaku is a master of manipulation, a centuries-old schemer who thrives on exploiting others for his own gain. His plans are meticulous, his strategies layered with contingencies. But Toji Fushiguro is not someone who can be easily controlled. Toji's disdain for the Jujutsu world, his lack of cursed energy, and his unpredictable nature makes him a dangerous variable in Kenjaku's calculations. At first, Kenjaku might see Toji as a potential pawn. After all, Toji's strength and instincts make him a formidable ally, and his connection to Megumi could be exploited to further Kenjaku's goals. Kenjaku might attempt to manipulate Toji by appealing to his disdain for the Jujutsu world, offering him a chance to tear down the system that has cast him aside. Alternatively, Kenjaku could use Megumi as leverage, threatening the boy to force Toji's cooperation. But Toji is not so easily manipulated. His instincts are razor sharp, and his distrust of others runs deep. He would see through Kenjaku's schemes, recognizing the mastermind's true intentions. This could lead to a tense game of cat and mouse, with Kenjaku trying to outmaneuver Toji, and Toji refusing to play by anyone's rules. Alternatively, Kenjaku might decide that Toji is too dangerous to keep alive. The Sorcerer Killer's ability to disrupt plans and defy expectations makes him a liability, and Kenjaku might see eliminating Toji as the only way to ensure his schemes remain on track. This could lead to a high-stakes confrontation between the two, with Kenjaku using every trick in his arsenal to take down the man who refuses to be controlled. This could lead to a whole new plan where he tries to eliminate Toji like a Gojo-level threat. Next, let's take a look at how Toji's presence would affect Sukuna. Sukuna is a being who thrives on chaos and strength. He revels in battle, seeking out worthy opponents to test his power. Toji Fushiguro, with his ability to fight without cursed energy and his unparalleled instincts, would undoubtedly catch Sukuna's attention. Sukuna might view Toji as a fascinating anomaly, a human who has achieved such strength without relying on cursed energy. This fascination could lead to a direct confrontation, with Sukuna seeking to test Toji's limits. The battle would be brutal and high stakes, with Toji relying on his instincts and physical prowess to counter Sukuna's overwhelming cursed energy. For Toji, this battle would be the ultimate test of his abilities. Sukuna's power is on a completely different level, and Toji would have to push himself to his absolute limits to stand a chance. But even if he couldn't defeat Sukuna, Toji's ability to hold his own against the King of Curses would be a testament to his strength and skill. This confrontation could also have broader implications for the story. If Sukuna sees Toji as a worthy opponent, he might become more interested in Megumi, recognizing the potential of the 10 Shadows technique. This could lead to Sukuna taking a more active role in the final battle, seeking out strong opponents to challenge his power. A final battle and how Toji's role fits would depend on his motivations at that point. If he has developed a sense of loyalty to Megumi, he might fight alongside the sorcerers, using his strength to protect his son and his allies. Alternatively, Toji could remain a neutral force, intervening only when it suits his interest. His unpredictability would make him a wild card in the battle, capable of tipping the scales in unexpected ways. One of the most emotionally charged moments in the final battle could come if Sukuna possesses Megumi. Toji, faced with the prospect of fighting his own son, would be forced to confront his past failures and his feelings of guilt. This could lead to a tragic but redemptive end for Toji, as he sacrifices himself to save Megumi and atone for his mistakes. This confrontation would be a defining moment for both Toji and Megumi. For Toji, it would be a chance to finally prove himself as a father, to show that he cares for his son in his own way. For Megumi, it would be a moment of growth, as he grapples with the legacy of his father and the choices he must make. Additionally, Toji's presence would also have a significant impact on the other characters in the story. Yuji Itadori, who has always looked up to Megumi as a friend and ally, might see Toji as a potential threat, depending on how Toji interacts with him. Yuji's straightforward nature and strong sense of justice could clash with Toji's more cynical worldview, leading to tense but compelling moments between the two. Nobara, Kugisaki, and the other allies might view Toji with suspicion. Given his history as the Sorcerer Killer, their interactions with him could lead to tense but compelling moments, especially if they have to work together against a common enemy. Nobara, in particular, might struggle to trust Toji, but her pragmatic nature could lead her to recognize that he cares for Megumi. Toji Fushiguro's return would have far-reaching consequences for the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. His presence would threaten to disrupt the plans of Sukuna and Kenjaku, force the Zen'in clan to confront its weaknesses, and push Megumi to new heights as a sorcerer. In the end, Toji's story would be one of redemption and sacrifice. Whether he fights alongside the sorcerers, confronts Sukuna, or sacrifices himself to save Megumi, his actions would leave a lasting impact on the world. But one thing is for sure, his presence in the original timeline would change the story so drastically that there are so many ways it could go, but here are just a few of them. And that's it for today's video. I hope you loved it. Don't forget to like and leave us a comment on what you think we should cover next. Until next time.